Καλησπέρα σε όλους. Ευχαριστούμε πολύ που είσαστε εδώ. Είμαστε πολύ χαρούμενοι που είμαστε και για δεύτερη συνεχόμενη χρονιά στην Prodexpo. Επίσης, μετά το διάλειμμα, ξέρω ότι είναι λίγο δύσκολο να μαζευτείτε και βλέπω αρκετό κόσμο, οπότε είμαι χαρούμενος γι' αυτό. Θα συνεχίσω στα αγγλικά, μιας και είναι και ο Λουκ εδώ που είναι καινούριο μέλος στον όμιλό μας και είναι Chief Strategy Officer του Immobiliare Insights. Οπότε θα συστηθεί και αργότερα και εκείνος και θα μιλήσει για κάποια πράγματα που έχει από την εμπειρία του, επειδή είναι πολύ δυνατό όνομα στον χώρο του PropTech στην Ευρώπη. So I'm switching to English. I'm going to start by speaking a little bit about ourselves. I mean, I know you know all the Spitogatos brand. A few things about Spitogatos, the company. As some of you might not know, we operate multiple websites in Greece. Actually, we operate 5 right now. And we also have 15 property websites using, centralized technology, centralized processes. We operate in multiple countries. We are the Southeastern European hub of our group, and our group, which is called Real Web Group, the flagship website is Immobiliare.it, which is #1 website in Italy. And we have a lot of experience and presence in multiple countries in Western Europe and in Southeastern Europe through let's say, the Southeastern hub, which is based in Greece, and it's our company. Also, we invest a lot in technology. We are transforming to a PropTech company. Of course, we're trying to keep the balance and adjust to the needs of each market at which we operate. Some markets are slower in adapting, let's say, technology and more advanced technology and innovation. Some others are not. So, we have a lot of, more than 200 engineers in the group, more than 800 people overall. So, we're investing a lot, and we believe that, there are great things coming up because, as also discussed in a panel yesterday, there is not a lot of disruption has happened in the digitalization of real estate yet. I mean, the change is yet to come. So part of this change is the Insights group, Insights, let's say, division, which was created a couple of years ago. And it's a joint venture between Immobiliare and Spitogatos in some way. And, the aim of this is to provide data and insights around data and analytics. Luke is going to speak more about that and what's possible. But, just to mention that we have a lot of data, crazy amount of data from all the websites that we operate. We can compare them from one website to another. We can compare user behavior, personas. We know from multiple countries and millions or hundreds of millions of users and persona and events that we monitor. So we know quite a lot of things, both on the supply and on the demand side. So I'm going to dig and discuss a little bit about vacation homes. I see we're already, have 20 minutes, so I'm going to rush a little bit and try to focus more on the more interesting things. So first of all, this is like a snapshot of the situation of Q3 2023. This is the listings that are tagged as vacation homes in our database. This is so there's about 20% of the total listings are flagged as vacation homes in Greece, which is interesting, and you can see from the heat map more or less where are the more expensive ones, and I'm sure there are no surprises here. As a snapshot of the market, I mean, overall, I'm talking about vacation homes only. So the asking prices increased by about 5%. This is countrywide. And the international searches increased by 15%. International searches, the way we monitor, we know from the IP of the user, we know the country of which the user is coming from. So it could be an international, or of course, it could be Greek diaspora based in another country. And of course, we know then by analyzing the leads, we also know more about the user and whether he's like Greek diaspora or he's an international. And the domestic searches increased by 20% year on year in the searches, in the sales. In the rentals, the situation is a bit different. So because also, the rental prices are quite high. So, the asking prices increased a bit less. And there's also a decrease in the villas, according to our data, whereas there's an increase in the detached, and probably, as we know from multiple reports, in some islands, the bigger houses, the bigger villas, they were harder to rent during the holidays as well, as opposed to smaller houses. So maybe that explains it in some way for the holiday homes. International searches increased by 5%, and domestic searches increased by 2%. Again, only focused on the vacation homes. These are the countries from which we receive the most searches, the most sessions on the website, and searches performed from international demand. So Germany has traditionally been the bigger one by far, followed by the United States, United Kingdom, Bulgaria, Serbia. Of course, it's not countrywide. In each region, it's different. So obviously, Bulgaria and Serbia are more interested in areas in northern Greece, like Chalkidiki, Kavala, and some suburbs of Thessaloniki or Thessaloniki Center. And then France, Netherlands, Israel. Israel is a bit different, the situation right now, but the whole of Q3, if we look at the Q3, even for a small country, this is quite impressive, the ranking that they have. And Canada and Australia, which of course also includes Greek diaspora. So this is something that has been quite constant throughout the years. The ranking doesn't change too much, or the top 10 doesn't change too much, but still, it's indicative of the interest, and also this is an increased interest, as discussed earlier. These are the areas that the international visitors of our website, so I'm not talking about Spitogatos only, I'm talking about all the channels that we have in Greece. So Chalkidiki is the top one, because Germans are looking more in Chalkidiki, and Germans are the top. So it goes surprising, and also Bulgarians and Serbs are looking there as well, which are in the top 4 and 5. So that's quite interesting. Cyclades, Kavala, you can see the areas. I'm not going to read through all of them one by one, but this is like where internationals are looking for, and this is where Greeks are looking for. So the south suburbs of Athens, they are the hotspot, as we all know. So in terms of vacation homes, again, I keep mentioning that we're talking about vacation homes. So they're looking the ones that are tagged as vacation homes, again, in the south suburbs. The rest of Attica, so probably a bit souther than Vouliagmeni, where south suburbs end based on the way we have segmented the market, and then you can see the other areas as well. So it's a bit different mix for Greeks, but some areas are quite the same. So for the areas that are interesting both for domestic and international searches, just a split between domestic and international demand. Overall, the split of the whole Spitogatos traffic, not just vacation homes, but the total split of the traffic is 85% domestic traffic, 15% international traffic. So in terms of the demand for vacation homes, it's 86% domestic in the south suburbs and 14% international, but you can see in Cyclades and Chalkidiki, the split is slightly different for obvious reasons. And especially, we're talking about Q3 2023, so this includes the summer holidays, and it's a trend we've seen. Before going summer on holiday, while they're on holiday from their phone, and also slightly after the holiday in late Q3, early Q4, we see an increase, a spike in international demand because people are more, let's say, excited about the place they have visited or they're about to visit, and they want to look properties in this location. So we're going to take a deeper look at one of the protagonists of the summer, into Paros. So we're like a deep dive on the vacation homes that we had listed on the site. This is the duplicated data, just for everybody to know, because as you know, in a listing website, there are duplicates, right? So this is the duplicated data, unique data. So 73% of the Paros listings were tagged as vacation homes. So the 804 are vacation homes, so the 73% of the total. The average price is about 4.85K euros per square meter. There's a significant increase in Paros in the asking prices compared to Q3 last year. Also, the stock increased slightly because the numbers are not too big, but 2.4%. The searches increased by 7% year on year, more the domestic searches and less the international searches, which is also interesting. There seems to be a flow from people, Greeks that have houses in other places, maybe in Mykonos, that's shifting to Paros. That's a trend we've heard. And also international searches, they are already quite high, especially people from France, Italy, America. They have already been quite keen in looking for a house in Paros, so the numbers were already high, so that probably explains the plus 1%. So this is the plus 7%. And the breakdown of the houses that we saw, the holiday homes, 40% detached, 25% maisonettes, 20% villas, and 15% all the rest. We're going a bit deeper. So this is like a snapshot of all the houses. The color coding is based on the legend that you can see on the right, based on the pricing. So this is like a mixed area. What we did is we tried to create, based on this, to create a heat map, which would look something like this. So you can see that, for example, on the east side, are the more expensive houses, but there are houses both on the west and on the east, probably about on the west, where it's the capital. There are older houses, not so many new developments compared to the ones that are vacation homes on the eastern side. But in any case, the experts in the area can understand more from this data. We produce the data, we analyze the data, so this is what this is what we've seen. And a bit more on the international searches split per quarter. So compared to Q1, Q2, and Q3, the top 5 countries are the same. Just the orders changes a bit. France, you can see fluctuates from being number 3 to being number 4, number 5, but overall it's the same. And the bottom 5 are the same. I think like Bulgaria and Belgium have a interchange in the last position there, but overall it's quite stable. And this again about Paros searches for vacation homes. And here, something else we've seen is, in the portal we measure a lot. We know all the searches, we know all the search filters that people use. So this is a table that says for each quarter what is the average max price, because if a user is searching, he can put minimum price and maximum price, but really the maximum price is like probably closer to the willingness to pay. And the same for the area, probably the minimum area, the minimum square meters is the most important of the two, minimum and maximum in the area, because this is like the minimum that they're willing to live in. And then the average spending potential based on this data, but not specifically on the average that you see, the average spending potential is like a division of the two, but not of these two numbers, but from the searches that had both a max price and a minimum area. So this is the spending potential, which is, we believe, quite interesting information for someone to take a look at. And also have a breakdown per typology. So you can see, first of all, the sample size, how it's split. So, it's mostly detached houses and maisonettes and villas, and okay, the other categories are quite few. What is the average euro per square meter asking price for each? What is the average area? So quite some interesting data there as well. And here's also not just the searches, but we also have demand data in relation to the leads. So you can see for the quarter, this is 3 months worth of data, the leads per listing, the average for each typology. Of course, some numbers are small, like penthouse and studios, the numbers are small, so it's more relevant to look at the other ones. The time to sell, which is the number, it is the difference, the average timing between the publication and the publication of the listing, of the unique listing. So if we see a listing posted by multiple agents, we take the minimum time from the first agent and the maximum time for the last one. Of course, if there are outliers, we have the technology and the experience to factor it out. Also we have other metrics which, it's time to market, which is when the free listing was first posted, but not necessarily published. So we have more data that we can share, but we're going to limit this here. And this is the percentage of the listings in each typology, each category, that had at least one lead during this period. So you can see that, okay, studios are probably, they're few, but they're quite popular because, also for people, for workers in these areas. But overall, have a lot of data, and this is just for sales. Sometimes we can even segment them by 70 to 100 square meters, 100 to 130, and make analysis based on those. We can also do rentals, the same analysis in rentals, and then do gross yields calculation and other things. So we've done all that, but for the purpose of this presentation, because we only have 5.5 minutes, I'm going to stop right here, and I'm going to introduce you to Luke Brucato, who is Chief Strategy Officer at Immobiliare Insights, and he's going to talk a little bit about his experience with PropTech and some insights that I think are quite useful.
All right. Thank you, Dimitris. So that was the fun part. Here's the boring part. I'll try to go really quick. But we do see an advantage in using property technology for reading the real estate market, particularly for banks, investors, and in this country, servicers. This is an interesting market. Compared to Italy, there are a lot of points of contact. There are a lot of differentiators too, though. I'm just going to go real quick through this, because what I see here is a market which is very clearly divided. On the left side, you have an incredible phase of deleveraging from the bank portfolios to the servicers. Just 5 years ago, 45% of these mortgages were in default. That has now been shifted to the servicers, and now we've seen that the servicers are shifting them on to other players as well, opening up the secondary market. On the right side, you see what the ECB says about Greece right now. The traditional mortgage granting market is the tightest and the worst negative growth that we have in Europe right now. This is data updated at Q1 2023. So we have a context in which we have very high interest rates, tightening of credit policies, very small mortgage books, but a huge influx of properties that are coming from the NPL scenario. And unlike Italy, though, this market is incredibly hot in terms of price growth on property, which creates an interesting situation, I imagine, for Greek families who are looking to access real estate finance to purchase properties, because Greece is an outlier even compared to other countries in terms of 1-year growth and 3-year growth of property prices. When we see markets like this, we think that there is an opportunity to apply more technology to more frequently update those values, because in a very dynamic market, property values change quickly. Banks and servicers need tools to be able to intercept those changes immediately as they happen. In fact, the ECB went even a little further and said, what are the variation? How wide are the ranges of the valuations we're getting from the different geographies that we're mapping as supervisors of the banking sector? And you can look at Greece, the range is quite wide, and the assumption as of Q1 2023 is the values could even be underestimated, according to the ECB. So in an underestimated, very hot property market, being able to use technologies like automated valuation models that are reading the market as it's being developed can help identify maybe sections of equity in the portfolio that weren't previously known, because maybe they were just being revalued by a coefficient. So property-specific approaches certainly pay in very dynamic markets. One of the best applications for property technology we've seen for banks and for servicers and investors and asset managers is the ability to mass backtest the valuations that are underlying these portfolios by setting some criteria, such as the range that you would have from an automated valuation model. Here you can see just a conceptual representation with the blue lines, or an institutional point of reference, like you have here, the objective value, and you can see in the green. When you do have a valuation that's outside of this distribution, how do you know that until you've entirely looked at the portfolio and then brought in a team of specialists, of humans, that can then go look at that valuation and go deeper. And that really is difficult to do on portfolios which are hundreds of thousands of properties, especially very granular residential portfolios. But this allows banks to identify the outliers, and it also gives them compliance with the European Banking Authority's guidelines on loan origination and monitoring, which make backtesting obligatory on the entire portfolio. Another factor impacting real estate, not only in Greece, we've seen this trend in Italy as well. These are the figures coming from Spitogatos in terms of the average price per residential divided by high, medium, and low energy performance. The Energy Performance of Buildings Directive that's being discussed now in Brussels has already created a sense of panic, at least in Southern Europe, where our stock is very old, of people who think this is going to be a loss of value in the long term. I'm going to have to invest in this property to maintain its value. And we can already see that differential in the average price. And it's huge. It's wider in Greece than it is in Italy. It's about 1,500 euro per square meter between the lowest and the highest class. Therefore, a bank or a servicer who does not know what the energy performance metrics are on their portfolio is going to have a hard time to segment that portfolio and decide what to do with it proactively before these properties lose further value. We've seen that training models based on the listings that have the energy performance indicators in them allows to create machine learning models which then can repopulate entire portfolios and segment them to then make an actual strategic decision of recontacting those borrowers and financing that property for energy renovation purposes and defending the equity while also allowing the bank to increase its green asset ratio based on those green mortgages that it would then be selling. So we think that these two, along with a very traditional approach of feeding comparables directly into the valuation process, are great ways of preventing further problems, of intercepting values that were maybe hidden in a general updating of the portfolio. And it also moves us towards a more objective approach towards valuation. Right now, we can use the listings as comparables in the valuation industry, but what we need to do is to move towards ranking the comparables used based on how similar they are to our subject property in terms of characteristics. That helps to reduce the human error, speed up the process, and also takes away any incentive to cherry pick the comparables according to the value that you're looking to produce. 5 years ago, this technology was not available in most of Southern Europe. We've seen it happen in Italy. We're seeing it happen in Greece now. So for us and for Spitogatos and the Insight division, we're very excited. And these are just a few examples. Thanks for your attention on this more boring part.
Thank you very much.